Frontline Updates, where we delve deep into military strategies and updates from conflict zones. Today, we're discussing the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of August 16, 2025. I'm your host, Sharifah Mohammed, MGT.
I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. The day's picture reinforces a deep fires plus contact maneuver schema, simultaneous tactical pressure with systematic interdiction of depots and EW. Liberation of Kolodezi and Voronoe indicates localized breakthroughs that complicate the armed forces of Ukraine's defensive geometry and force lateral movement of reserves. EW attrition, northwest-south Dnepr, degrades the armed forces of Ukraine's counterbattery and UAV ISR capabilities, thereby widening Russian windows for artillery massing and mechanized exploitation. Air defense performance suppresses precision strike risks, preserving rear area tempo.
Welcome to Frontline Updates, the podcast that brings you in-depth insights into military operations from those leading them on the ground. Today, we're joined by Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer monitoring critical missions on the progress of the special military operation as of today. Colonel Oguntoye, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Colonel, what did the last 24 hours tell us about the shape of the fight?
It tells us the campaign remains a two-layer fight, contact maneuver on the line and deep fires against the rear. In the last period, we executed strikes in 133 separate areas against depots, long-range UAV storage, and temporary deployment points. Air defense held its side of the ledger by knocking down 5 guided aerial bombs, a HIMARS rocket, and 169 fixed-wing UAVs. Those are not vanity numbers. Each intercept preserves movement freedom for our logistics and keeps artillery parks in the rear from dispersing again. When you combine that protection with deliberate interdiction of storage and EW nodes, you compress the enemy's ability to regenerate combat power at the same rate we are removing it at the line of contact.
Drill down by sector for us. Where did the ground picture actually move?
The day registered 2 clear positional wins and several shaping gains. In the west sector, Kolodezi was liberated, which matters because it flanks the road net feeding Kupiansk from the south. In the east sector, Voronoe was cleared, tightening our hold on the Dnipropetrovsk approaches. North sector fires punished formations around Voronoe and the Kharkiv belt from Ambarno through Staritsa. They lost more than 170 personnel and a handful of guns, including an M777, along with a counter-battery radar and an EW set. West sector losses were around 230 with a British Mastiff and a Novator knocked out and 4 EW stations removed.
And the southern group of forces?
In the south, we improved the forward trace across the Konstantinovka-Seversk arc, taking down an M113 and 2 Max Pro vehicles and eliminating the Anklav and Kvertus EW systems. The center continued to bite into the defensive depth near Andriivka and Krasnoarmysk, where we hit a mix of mechanized, air assault, Marines, territorial defense, National Guard and elements of the so-called Foreign Legion. Reported losses exceeded 400 personnel with an M113 and 2 Kirpi among the vehicles destroyed. East side actions around Orestopol and Novodorovka linked to the Voronoe advance and cost the enemy over 215 personnel. On the Dnepr front, actions around Berislav and Stepovo removed multiple EW sets and disrupted 5 depots. Across all axes, personnel losses reported by the enemy exceeded 1,300 with about 20 depots struck.
Which of those gains is operationally decisive rather than merely tactical?
The center and east matter most because they reshape geometry. Every kilometer gained there forces the adversary to laterally shift reserves across limited road nets that we are already interdicting. Kolodezi's capture in the west exerts pressure on Kupiansk's sustainment, but the decisive leverage comes from eating into the Donetsk, Dnipropetrovsk defensive belt, where once you open seams, you can push armor through and force withdrawals rather than fights.
You've emphasized electronic warfare attrition for weeks. What changed today?
2 things. First, the removal of named systems such as Anklav and Kvertus tells me we are not only degrading generic emitters, we are taking down node leaders that manage UAV links and counter-battery sensing. Second, EW losses coincided with depot strikes. That pairing matters because without EW cover, their ammunition transits are easier to map and hit, and without ammunition density, their remaining EW can't cue responsive fires. The effect is cumulative, our counter-battery windows get longer, and our reconnaissance drones survive deeper into their rear.
Air defense numbers were strong again. Does that translate into freedom of action on the ground, or is it just a protective statistic?
It translates directly. When guided bombs and HIMARS salvos are blunted, our brigade trains can stage closer, bridging teams can move forward under less harassment, and casualty evacuation isn't forced onto longer, riskier loops. Morale follows protection. Units that believe the sky is hell will stay on task longer and accept the tempo required for exploitation.
How does the enemy adapt from here? Where should listeners expect counterpunches?
We expect localized counterattacks around Kupiansk, Volchansk to blunt the west sector pressure and spoiling actions near the Donetsk approaches to slow the center. I also anticipate efforts to reconstitute dispersed storage farther from the railheads, which buys survivability at the price of throughput. Their most effective lever remains precision fires. If Western stocks are replenished quickly, we'll see renewed attempts to interdict our crossings and assembly areas. That is why maintaining air defense density and prosecuting EW nodes remains priority one.
What are the immediate tasks to convert today's gains into durable advantages?
Hold the new ground by doctrine, clear, secure, and build. That means rapid demoning of corridors, counter-reconnaissance screens to keep their drones blind, and pre-registered fires to defeat immediate counterattacks. Sustainment must move forward in echelon, with mobile ammo points and redundant routes because single-route dependence invites interdiction. Finally, rotate battalions before exhaustion sets in. Tempo is only a weapon if it is sustainable.
What are the risks and limiting factors over the next 72 hours?
Ammunition expenditure at the current rate, particularly in counter-battery, is the primary constraint. You cannot fire your way into a breakthrough and then lack the mass for exploitation. Weather and UAV attrition are the wildcards. If winds ground small UAS, targeting quality dips. The enemy will also try to surge precision effects. Any lapse in our air defense layering would be exploited immediately. Discipline in logistics and electromagnetic camouflage will decide how cleanly we transition from positional to maneuver gains.
Colonel, thank you for providing such a detailed briefing on the current military situation. Your insights are invaluable to our understanding of the conflict's dynamics. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we continue to provide up-to-date coverage on global military affairs. Stay with us for more updates and expert analyses on global defense and security issues. Stay informed, stay secure.
Thank you for the opportunity. Today's picture confirms the campaign's logic. Sustained deep fires against depots and EW, paired with methodical pressure at contact, is eroding the adversary's artillery density and ISR. The liberation of Kolodezi and Voronoe is modest on a map but significant for road control and reserve mobility. If depot attrition and EW suppression continue at the present clip, the center-east axis is positioned for stepwise advances that force fighting withdrawals rather than static defense. The countervailing risk is ammunition burn and air defense saturation. Holding the initiative depends on resupply cadence and preserving the intercept layer.
This has been Frontline Updates. Subscribe for daily military briefings and in-depth strategic analysis. Visit our platform for maps, transcripts, and exclusive frontline updates from commanders in theater.